How's it going, Leo community? Soul Tigers here with a special story for this wonderful frequency. So, some key words here for Leo is, and I quote a song lyric, time keeps on ticking into the future. I believe that's Pink Floyd, end quote. So, wishing to turn back the hands of time, holiday season seems to bring on heavy feelings of guilt for you, Leo. Not too certain about how things have turned out for you. In a sense, you wish you could hide away from it all until it's over. Do you punish yourself, Leo, because you feel like you don't deserve to be happy at this time of the year? It's okay to have a past that has regrets, Leo. And it's also okay to give yourself the option to heal from that past. Oh my goodness. And just to share a little bit with you, I actually had to do a re-recording because as I was like putting up the finishing touches on making sure everything looks really good when it comes to the appearance of stuff, right as I got done just kind of turning this one, aligning the candle, my camera itself started recording by itself. I didn't prompt it or anything, so I feel like I am right on time for you, Leo. So this time of the year, Leo, it's something that could be hard for a lot of us, especially if we have certain memories tied to this time of the year. So just know, being able to take everything just one day at a time right now, Leo. Be very, very, very gentle with yourself. Even though you have that past full of regrets, do not be so hard on yourself with how far you came in life when it comes to the other successes around you. Okay? Because you have worked really hard for those successes, no matter what your regrets are. So let's get started with this story so far. The first thing I'm seeing here that you're confused on is new beginnings. New beginnings comes when we're able to cleanse out, when we're able to work through frustrations that we've let chain us down. It could be for many phases of our lives. It could be only for a little bit. It doesn't have a time limit. But what it is you've chained yourself down feeling like you can't have a new beginning. But your guides here definitely say that you can. What also was weird is when I was dialing in and cleansing out, usually I start off with the ancestors and spirit guides when I'm calling everybody in. Then I move to the angels of protection. Then I move to divine and honoring everybody. And then I move to being able to put the energy towards this story and not having any attachments to specific outcomes. But your angels of protection, they are right here, and they were really persistent on being called in first. So what this tells me is, Leo, don't be afraid to call on your angels at this time. Pray, talk to them, communicate with them, feel how they're trying to communicate with you as well. So let's keep moving forward. Something that's really at a distance for you, something that you're really confused on, is how everything has came into circle. You know, how everything has worked out. It's okay. Honestly, it's all good. You worked really hard for this. Just because it didn't work out to your expectations, just because, you know, what has happened in the past has a lot of regrets that you didn't see how would play out in your future, that's okay. That's a part of teaching you how to become a better person for yourself, you know, finding yourself in the midst of all your failures is something that all of us go through. But not everybody can pick themselves up. Not everybody can face the fears of their failures and their resentments that they have in the past. It takes time. It definitely takes time to face stuff like that. Something else we have here is death. Death has to do with being able to have also a new beginning, bringing an end to something so you can bring something else in. And this has to do with integration. And if you've seen any of my videos before, you know that snake is also associated with Scorpio. You have 2 cards here that have Scorpio ties to them. All right, so with that being said, that Scorpio house is 8th house energy, transformation through relationships, meaning that the relationships we have with people, places, and or things are the very things that help us level up and grow. So this is something here that you have a challenge that is meant to help you evolve a little bit more into yourself, into the type of person that you want to be. Then we have sexual energy here at the bottom of everything. Now, sexual energy I also tie to vulnerability, because in order to open yourself up to people sexually, that is opening yourself up to being vulnerable with others. And I feel like there's something here that you are really protecting when it comes to vulnerabilities. And maybe this is something that is, what am I finding the word? How do I find the words for this? But things that we stress about definitely impact us on many different ways. They impact our spiritual being. They impact our emotional being. They impact our mental being. They impact our spiritual being. So if we are having issues with certain kind of health things, whatever it is that's weighing heavily in on your shoulders right now, especially when it comes to this holiday season, this is something that could be affecting your health in different areas. So let's go ahead and continue into the present with the ancestors and spirit guides and angels. Like I said, your angels are right here. They're really pushing for communication. They really want to communicate with you. They want you to communicate with them. There's the big message that they want to give to you, I feel like, and it's just something that says everything is okay, everything is fine. There's something here where you feel like something's being held against you, and your angels, I think, want to help bring in the energy that's not being held against you. The only person that is tying themselves up with this is yourself. It's not other energies. So that's what I'm feeling here. And then we have the 6 of Swords. 6 of Swords. Something happened where you didn't create movement. You didn't create movement when it came to resolving something that had to do with conflicts. You may have ended up just running from the conflicts, trying to get away from the conflicts. That could be something as well. Let me pull a few more cards here. But there is something that had to do with you trying to take a journey to go somewhere else. And, you know, I feel like you want to bring the best version out of yourself, you know, on this journey with the 6 of Wands here. But it's definitely with this 8 of Swords right here in the background. There's something here about a past decision that you made that you are just not too comfortable with. I think we talked about this last time in the last story, Leo. I'm hearing that's it. So let's keep diving deeper here. So there's definitely something that you're really out on the cold with. I mean, whatever this conflict is, you haven't been able to put it down. You want to follow what is best. You know, you're trying to put your best foot forward, but there's just some stuff that you really just don't know about. And for some reason, you're upset with yourself because you feel like you should have known something. There was something that you should have been able to learn about maybe in your past, something that you should have read into a little bit deeper. That's what I'm getting, but that didn't happen. And maybe it had to do with a specific energy. A specific energy that was also keeping you out in the cold. What I'm hearing is with the very ways that they've operated their life. Whatever the specific energy was, it was definitely more of a solo type of energy. It wasn't a codependent energy, so they could have been overly independent or overly opinionated. That's what I'm getting with that. Now we have this Wheel of Fortune. Really hard on things, the way things have worked out for you when it comes to the relationships around you. When you look back into this past situation with whoever, whatever this is, it does definitely bring in depressing feelings. These depressing feelings because, again, you were blind to the choices that you were making at that time, or you felt like you were blind to the choices that you were making. Like, if you would have known other things, you probably would have chose a little differently, but you didn't know, and you're just really upset because you weren't able to read deeper into whatever this had to do with. And because this is so much going to this left side, I really feel like this is in your past. This has to do with a lot of past things. It'd be 5, 10, 15, 20 years in the past. Maybe it's 5 years, 4 years in the past. It could be 2, 4, 6, 8 years in the past. Just however it breaks down, but it's kind of like everything is stacking up on each other. You know, you look at what you've created, then you go back to these relationships that you have. Then you're upset because you didn't know certain things. You were blinded to them. So then you get upset with yourself because you didn't know and you didn't make different choices. That doesn't make sense, Leo. You're being too hard on yourself. You are being too hard on yourself. I'll tell you that for a fact. You're being too hard on yourself. I have had some Leos in my life, and I know a couple specific Leos who went through some stuff and found out some stuff later on in life. And you can go around blaming yourself for not knowing things. You have that right. But I feel like this is where you have to be gentle with yourself, because let's look at that bigger picture. There's no way you can go back into the past. There's just no way you can go back into the past. But everything that you regret can help teach you what to do, what to change when it comes to the present and moving into the future. That is something you can do. We're doing it all the time. What I like to tell a lot of parents, especially new parents that end up on my table asking me different questions, is I tell them this: your parents weren't perfect. Nobody was perfect. So whatever you feel like your parents failed at, I want you to go ahead and look at how you would have changed that, what you would do differently. And that's how you start to make a difference. Like I was saying, that's how you start acknowledging stuff in the present and learning the lessons from it so that you can move forward in the future and doing something different. Use it to empower the next part of your journey into the next phases of your life. You can't do different in the past, but you can do different for your future. All right, so let's continue on, or I'm going to keep trying to rambling on about this, because this does hit home. Like I said, I do know some Leos who do go through these situations, you know. And think about this: Leo, 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 the lion heart. Leos, you are a very big self-sacrificing energy, and you will sacrifice for the ones that you love, even if it's sacrificing your present and your future to harbor in your past regrets. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to sacrifice your present and your future because of what has happened in the past and how you felt like you may have made wrong decisions. You have to give yourself that permission, though. All right, so angels of protection, angels of protection. I call you in as guides and protectors. Oh my goodness. Guides and protectors. As we navigate the block here for the Leo, please help keep us safe and protected while we're in the shadow side of things. Oh my goodness. I mean, there could have been, I want to say, a lot of tricks being played. There could have been a lot of smoking mirrors. There could have just been a lot of different things that were happening that made it seem like things were okay when it came to the decisions that you were making in your past. And the only reason why I say that is just the way that the cards had came out. So let's start off with this. The whole thing is, until you want to be able to confront this energy, you will stay in this revolving door. This revolving door of regret, this revolving door of resentment, this revolving door of shame, I'm hearing to say. But this is an actual contract you have with the divine. And I speak about this sometimes. I've learned from a Native American elder on a video that I was watching on this platform. And they were talking about forgiveness. And they were saying that the divine sends us lessons so that we can learn how to forgive. If we don't have these things that we need to forgive, how do we learn forgiveness? And right here, you don't know it, and you would be at odds ends with it if I told you that this is a direct contract that you have with a higher energy. And that's the divine. Right here, the lessons that you have when it comes to your past are lessons that are supposed to help out your future, create a different kind of rippling effect. It's really hard because you just feel so stuck. You feel so stuck not being able to move. You feel so stuck, hung up in everything that you believe when it comes to looking at these past choices. It makes it really hard for you to look past anything else but what has happened in this past and where you felt like you failed. But the thing is, you've been steadily building. You may have not been operating in an emotional sense. You may have been operating more in a logical sense, trusting others. It was a lot of trusting others that you're upset about. Relying on others' truths. That's what I'm hearing to say. Well, you can only take everything at face value. And I think that trusting others definitely is what gave you the permission to keep moving forward into what you've worked for in this present moment, everything that you've built around you. I mean, trusting these others gave you the momentum and the strength to keep pushing forward. But again, when you realize what happened, when you look at the different conflicts that are still happening, that are still around you, you feel like there's something missing. And because you feel like there's something missing, You really withhold yourself because you don't feel the success that you've built up until this point. And you have turned into a sense, when it comes to your emotions, being a little callous with things, I'm hearing to say. And that's that specific word, callous. Like, you hold back your emotions now. You don't give out love like you used to. That's what I'm hearing to say. And it's all because of what has happened from the past all the way up until now. And it comes down to you really feeling disturbed in your mind and in your heart about everything. And it could be driving you crazy. Because when we have the star card in reverse, the star card in reverse talks about mental illness. I'm not saying you're mentally ill. But what I'm saying is the situation, what has happened in the past, and the fact that you can't move forward from it, it's driving you a little crazy. And it's making you withhold your love. Being able to love others, whether it's family, whether it's your spouse, whether it's a partner, whether it's, being more loving towards co-workers or your work environment, where you volunteer, your animals, stuff like that. And you have become very cold in that sense. And that's hard because it all comes back to you being hung up in your beliefs. What I feel like is, again, with that word shame, you feel a lot of shame for what has happened. But all that shame you feel, you won't acknowledge the fact that you didn't know. You didn't know. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you didn't read deeper into things, because what happens if you weren't taught how to? You didn't know certain things back then because you weren't as evolved as you are now. So let's think about that one. All right, so let's call in divine and universal energy. Let's get out of this block. Divine and universal energy. What are the positive messages that you have for the Leo community? The mighty, mighty lion's heart. Oh, I'm already seeing something beautiful with the heart chakra. Talking about perception and our perception of things. And I'm hearing that's enough. That is enough. I think the angels of protection, since they're leading the way, they kind of want to keep everything really simple for you. They don't want to kind of drown everything out with too much explanation. So the first thing that I see is you need to have a different perception, because you're at odds ends with this. And it has to do with the things that you felt like you should have read a little bit deeper into. The past is the past. You can't change the past. But what you can do is you can learn from the past. But the way you've been handling your past, Leo, is you've definitely closed off your heart chakra, which keeps you in this energy of having a lack of empathy, that cold, callous type of thing towards others, holding grudges. You're holding a big grudge towards yourself. You have this bitterness towards the past, and this bitterness towards yourself because of the things that have happened in the past. And it could be operating in a little jealous because certain things didn't work out like you expected, or like it should have, like somebody else's situation. Just be careful with this, because when you hold on to things with a closed heart chakra, then you start to block off the divine lessons of things. This past was meant not specifically to hurt you, but to teach you to make changes in the present so that you can step towards a new type of future, not a future that repeats the same cycles over and over. Something that we're not seeing and that we're at odds ends with. Like I said, it's here to teach you. It's also here to teach you how to step into that willpower, to teach you how to have confidence, to teach you that it's okay to have joy, self-discipline, and motivation when it comes to learning about the things that we have regrets and resentment about. Ooh-wee. All right, so let's see. So recovery is something here. Recovery. We need to find the key, and we need to create a connection. A connection, I feel like, within our faith, within that higher power, because somebody may be thinking that their life is cursed. Somebody may be thinking at this point, life has it out for them. No, Leo, it doesn't. Just right now, you've been beating yourself up so routinely that you've disconnected from a higher power because you've lost your way in your faith of things. Something else we're not seeing is vanity. You don't know it, but there's still people who look up to you. There are people who still adore you. There are people who still feel like you're a big deal. There are people who look towards your wisdom. Like I said, you don't know it because you're so hard on yourself. But there are, and you need to open yourself up to these people that are around you instead of keeping yourself so cold and closed off for them. Because in a sense, you've been repeating a cycle. If you're cold and closed off to these people now, somewhere in your past, Leo, you've been doing the same thing. Being closed off in some way. Not seeing how they look up to you. And that is something that needs to change in your present to help create something new for your future. And your angels, your guides especially, are really, really adamant about that card. Service, this is neat because this came out when I was shuffling the cards or when I was just pulling the deck out. There's something here where you felt like you didn't do a service for others. There's something here where you felt like you didn't show up. There's something here, again, that you look at that you ran out of time on. But again, it's okay. It's okay because things are meant to go. Things are meant to come. This is the cycle of life. The whole thing is they lied to us saying that everybody that we meet, everybody that we're related to, we're going to take on our journey the whole way with us. No, too many things can happen from now until, or from then until now. That's not always guaranteed. People change. People change how they feel towards others. People change their views towards others. That's okay. You know, the more conflicts that we have with others, those conflicts are meant to bring us closer to ourselves. Because for me, when people have conflicts, they're very passionate about things. There's something here that they really, really care about. And when you can honor that, then you might be able to step back a little bit and not be so hard on yourself, especially when it comes to the way things have worked out. Now, when it comes to you overthinking your past, when it comes to you being hung up and being stuck in what you believe and how you believe that you were choosing blindly, is you need to step back and you need to take a more expansive kind of look at things. You need to take a look at things from the view of divinity, creating this expansion of a view when you look at your life from the past until now. And this, I feel like, is really, really important. Your guides want you to kind of see this from more than one view. They want you to see it from the chaos view, how there was a lot of chaos happening, how you were trying to have these ideas, to get you somewhere else. And you were actually following the faith of things at that time. Because I even remember in the last story, Leo, you were really hard because you had two choices. And this is kind of being brought up in this energy. Well, the thing is you were choosing the choice that was the most fertile. The choice that was going to be the most prosperous when it came to going more in a loving, light, and compassionate kind of way. And we really, really need to step back on this view of our past, of ourselves in our past too, and see it again from divinity's view. How can we see it from divinity's view so we can get the lessons of enlightenment to open up our heart chakra? Being able to fulfill this inner contract we have with ourselves and the divine, putting to rest to things that mentally weak us, because we all have a past. You were doing the best you could with what you knew back then, especially when you were overlooking your journey and wanting to build. You definitely wanted to manifest something. You wanted to manifest something stable. Something of stability and currency. I mean, sometimes when we look at how we were choosing things, yes, we could feel like we were blind back then when we were choosing things, when we look from the present moment. But the thing is, you knew what you knew back then. You didn't know what you knew today back then, and that's okay because you were learning. But this is something that's always on your mind. It affects your very belief with things and how you get hung up and feeling like things never changed, they never moved forward. You were never able to complete something that you wanted to work on. And this is something that weighs really, really, really heavily in on you, both in the past, the present, and it doesn't even open up a view to your future of things, always keeping you in conflict with the relationships around you, having you hide your emotions from others, being cold with others to protect yourself in a sense, because you know what, at one time you were trusting others more than you were trusting yourself, and you've learned how to take everything more from a logical view opposed to an emotional view. Maybe this is a part of your lesson of learning how to get out of the cold with yourself. Being able to create movement to where you become more emotionally evolved. Being able to manifest something different for the future will take strength in your present moment, the strength to put an end to something. That something has to do with the lesson. What did you learn from this past? You really have to look at that, not just your feelings around it, not just your feelings towards yourself, but what did you learn about it? How does this lesson of your past make you feel vulnerable now? And how can we come to full circle and seeing that everything's worked out, that the way it's meant to work out, giving us permission to go off into a new directions when it comes to our mind, when it comes to our emotions, cleansing out what once was to help create and recover the key to getting ourselves to a new beginning. Seeing how people still look up to us and adore us at this point in time. Even though it could be certain past people are not with us, but we still have people around us who really take into consideration the wisdom that we have. Oh my goodness, Leo, nobody's journey is perfect. Nobody. Do not look at your next door neighbors as if they've had a perfect journey. Do not look at your coworkers as if they have had a perfect journey. I say do not look at them like that anymore, because it's the truth. Everybody has regrets. Everybody has resentments. But until you can come to terms with it and you can face your fears that are around it, this is something that will always drag you down. This is something that will always deplete your energy. It's okay. It is okay to work through this. It's okay to move forward from this. It's okay to have a new beginning after you work through this. You are allowed to be happy. You are allowed to have fun. You are allowed to smile. You are allowed to feel joy. You are allowed to learn how to do something different. All right? Thank you so much, Leos, for sharing your frequency with me. And as always, don't forget to thank your angels, ancestors, and spirit guides for coming in and helping out. And as always, I hope that you have a most wonderful rest of your day.